And your time starts now.
Thank you, Chacko. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last decade of the 1800s, it was felt that there was demand rising in the Federated Malay States for an English-educated workforce to work in the civil service and the mercantile sector. The then Kapitan Cina of Kuala Lumpur, Yap Kwan Seng, together with Tauke Lokyu and his business partner Thampusami Pillai, with three prominent Kuala Lumpur residents who convened a public meeting calling for the establishment of an English medium school comparable to the prestigious Raffles Institution of Singapore. They each promised $1,000, a lot of money. Sir William Hood Treacher, the British resident in Selangor, discovered there was a sum of $3,188 of unspent money in the treasury, which had been raised for the erection of a permanent memorial to commemorate the Golden Jubilee of the Queen Empress Victoria in 1887. He suggested to the donors that this could be used as a nucleus for a building fund for the school, a memorial school that would be named the Victoria Institution. The donors agreed. And the Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Abdul Samad, donated a sum of $1,100 and became one of the two patrons of the school, the other being Sir Cecil Clementi Smith, the governor of the Strait Settlements. On the 14th of August 1893, Lady Treacher laid the foundation stone for the school in the High Street, which is today's Jalan Tun H.S. Lee. It was situated on an 8-acre site in the loop of the Klang River. The school, with 4 staff, was officially opened on the 30th of July 1894. There were 150 students. This is a visualization which depicts the school at the end of a typical school day in the late 20s, with students involved in major extracurricular activities, cadets, scouts, football, cricket. The first headmaster was Mr. Bennett I. Shaw, who initiated traditions and practices that would be emulated by other schools. He envisioned an education not merely for examinations, but for life, to produce good citizens. He made drill and gymnastics an integral part of the education. He gave out prizes to pupils with good attendance records. He introduced a report card system to monitor the boys' progress and conduct. The first prize day was held on 21st December 1894. 3 years later, another practice was initiated with the holding of the first VI Sports Day. In 1906, musical drill displays became part of Sports Day. Shaw thus laid down the foundation for an all-round education over the 28 years that he devoted to the school. And this has resulted in a phenomenal array of alumni being produced by the school for over 120 years.
It is undeniable that Victoria Institution was founded earlier than St. John's, over 10 years earlier in fact, or that almost everyone involved in the founding of the school were well-known personalities in the early history of Kuala Lumpur. Almost all of them had a road or building named after them in later years. But that should not negate the impact and significant contribution of St. John's Institution to the history of this cool city, particularly in terms of the architectural and educational heritage. Yes, the founding of St. John's was far more modest than VI's, but the intentions of its founders were just as noble, if not more so, than those of the VI's. St. John's Institution was opened in Bukit Nanas on January 18, 1904 by Father Vignol, the Vicar General of the Catholic Mission, and R.J. Wilkinson, Director of Public Instruction. There were 40 students present on the student roll that day. The school was housed in a 2-story, 80-foot by 20-foot wooden building, that is one here, that housed 5 classrooms and living quarters for the brothers and the lay masters. The 3 brothers who started St. John's arrived just 3 days earlier. They were Brother Julian Francis, the first brother director, who was sent from Hong Kong, Brother Andrew Corsini from Mandalay, and Brother Cyril Alexander who had come along with three young lay teachers from St. Xavier's in Penang. St. Xavier's in Penang. The roots of the Christian Brothers in Malaysia had begun more than 50 years earlier, when St. Xavier's Institution in Penang was established in 1882. The founding father of St. John's Institution was Father Renard of the Church of St. John the Evangelist, the Catholic Church of Bukit. At the end of 1904, Bishop Emile Barillon of the French Catholic Mission, in his annual report to Paris, wrote, "Since his arrival in Kuala Lumpur, Father Renard suffered from seeing his young men being obliged to go to the Protestant school. The girls went to the convent, but the boys had to go to Victoria Institution. First, he enlarged his church, in spite of the frequent bouts of malaria, but at last collected enough money to build a school in Kuala Lumpur. The celebrations were very fine: music, speeches, cakes, and refreshments. All were there. The pupils increased in number every day." An excerpt from the annual report, Federated Malay States Selangor, reads, "The number of children attending schools aided by government grants also shows an increase from 847 in 1903 to 930 in 1904. This is principally on account of the opening in the very early part of the year of a new school called St.John's Institution, to which I admitted a large number of boys who have been rejected by other schools, who were weak scholars and had fallen behind in their education. The enrollment at this institution is already 101.
Thank you, Johanian.
Thank you. I'm glad my learned opponent pointed out how modest St. John's is. And we're here today, and that is a noble value and quality. But here we are looking at what is important and what is valuable. And that has to be Victoria Institution. It's the first English medium school in Selangor. It's also the home to the oldest cadet corps in the country, the Victoria Institution Cadet Corps. The oldest cadet corps band in the country, the Victoria Institution Cadet Corps band, and the oldest scout group, the first Kuala Lumpur scout troop. Therefore, Victoria Institution is the better school for preservation.
As you enter the portals of St. John, you are greeted with the ascending grand staircase, steps leading up to higher ground. To reach this heavenward stairway, you have to cross the piano nobile, the noble plane, the hall of honor lined with plaques, emblems, trophies, accolades, and rolls of honor. The wide corridors give a sense of the majesty of a large institution, with lofty heights and shafts of light penetrating through the arches. Subliminally, the rhythmic cadence and subtle articulation of the architecture influences the experience of life at school. These things become the corridors of power. Imagine the slow, steady carvings of discipline and order upon the psyche over the years as a child walks through the corridors. The hierarchical structure of the design, the formality and layout of the spaces, literally and experientially putting people in their places and establishing a pecking order through architecture. I didn't write this. The gentleman is here himself. This distribution of the architecture of St. John's is by one of the old boys, Lim Tek Ben, right here. Former head librarian and Eagle Scout, and now architect and member of the Badan Warisan Council. I found out that there's another member of Badan Warisan Council who's also an old boy, Johan Razak. So St. John's is well represented on the Badan Warisan Council. The construction of the Romanesque main block began in October 1906. The foundation stone was laid by the resident council for Selangor. It was designed by Brother Vernier Augustus, who would sketch the design, which would then be expanded into technical drawings by the contractor. The original facade was red brick with white trimmed arches. Divided into 15 bays, at the top of the three-story building. In the center of the roof line, there sits a clock to remind the oft-tardy student that arriving even a minute past 7:30 a.m. means an hour of detention under the hot afternoon sun, picking up litter along the entire length and breadth of the field, which was once the size of 2 football fields. Directly below the timepiece is the porte-cochere, onto which a statue of St.john Baptist de La Salle, the founder of the La Salle brothers, was added in 1926. Although the building wasn't officially opened until the 10th of August 1908, it had already been in use since the end of 1907, when the Cambridge examinations were held there, despite delays in construction caused by tiger attacks on the oxen carrying timber from the nearby rainforest.
Thank you, Zahim.
On the 22nd day of September 1927, all Kuala Lumpur turned up yesterday to witness the opening of the new building of the Victoria Institution by His Excellency the High Commissioner Sir Hugh Clifford. His Excellency arrived a few minutes after His Highness the Sultan of Selangor, both of whom were received by Mr. G.C. Davies, the headmaster. His Excellency arrived accompanied by Sir William Peels, Chief Secretary, and attended by Captain Blair, the ADC. The Inspector of the Guard of Honour, composed of school cadets and scouts, 100 strong, under Captain F.C. Barakov. The King was played by the Selangor State Band during the inspection. The formal opening of the doors was done by His Excellency after receiving the golden key with which to perform the task from the hands of Mr. Aiken Berry, who was one of the architects from the firm of Swan and McLaren. The building is more or less in the shape of an E. The assembly hall in which the large gathering gathered to listen to speeches yesterday is in the center. From the outside, it is imposing, but from the inside, it is pleasing. The general lines of the building are harmonious, and the whole building reflects very great credit on the architects. The building, which stands on the most conspicuous eminence of the hill, extremely well set off by well laid out playing fields. Kuala Lumpur ought to be proud to possess what is undoubtedly the finest school building in the Federated Malay States. That was an amalgamation of reports from the Malayan Daily Express of March 22nd, 1929, and the Victorian of August 1929 on the opening of the new 26.6-acre Victoria Institution on Bukit Petaling on today's Jalan Hang Tuah, formerly known as Shaw Road after BI's first headmaster. The old school on the banks of the Klang River had been getting flooded annually. In 1926, it was reported there was up to 10 feet of water in the building with crocodiles swimming through the classrooms. To mitigate flooding in KL, it was decided to straighten the river at the bend on which the school was located, and this meant it had to move. The boys carried their tables and chairs and walked through the heart of Kuala Lumpur from their old school to their beautiful new premises. The Malayan Tribune reports the tower of 100 feet in height makes it a distinctive piece of architecture to which both future scholars from past and present will be able to point at with justifiable pride. And today, I'm sure many of you saw Ola Bola, and Victoria Institution was picked to make a beautiful backdrop to where the football team would train on the emerald fields of Victoria Institution. They don't make buildings and grounds like this anymore. They must be preserved. Thank you.
Johanian, it's your turn to rebut. You have 13 seconds starting from now.
Well, of course, we realize now that St. John's is the building itself is much older than VI. 20 years. All right. Yes, I only managed to talk about the architecture of one of St. John's buildings earlier. In fact, rather than just one grand, but rather domineering and oppressive building like VI's, St. John's is a charming, eclectic collection of buildings of a variety of architectural styles due to the rapid expansion and popularity of the school pre- and post-World War II.
Thank you, Zahim.
War broke out on the 8th of December 1941. The speed at which the Japanese army commanded by General Tomoyuki Yamashita overran the country was amazing. VI was used as a key Japanese military administrative center. What actually went on inside remains a mystery. Some believe the Kempeitai used it to torture and execute prisoners in a dungeon that was located under the school hall. It is rumored that the ghosts of these hapless victims still haunt parts of the school, notably 206, the boys' toilet. The reign of terror would last 3.5 long years. With the bombing of Hiroshima on the 6th of August 1945 and Nagasaki 3 days later, Emperor Hirohito finally surrendered. The surrender ceremony for Peninsula Malaya took place on Thursday, the 13th of September 1945 in the hall of the Victoria Institution. The Malay mail gushed that it was the most historic ceremony that had taken place anywhere in the Malay states. Crowds were gathered in the early afternoon outside the VI compound. They jeered and booed on seeing the Japanese, who maintained a calm and unperturbed demeanor. The Japanese soldiers entered the VI hall, bowing low to the Union Jack at the entrance. 2 rows of tables were laid out for the 2 groups of signatories. Lieutenant General Teizo Ishiguro used a brush to sign his name, while Lieutenant General O.I. Roberts used a pen. It was all over in 20 minutes at 2:30 p.m. The British military administration commandeered the VI for the 14th Army headquarters under Lieutenant General Sir Frank Messervy. His task was daunting. 100,000 Japanese prisoners of war, 123,000 Allied prisoners of war held in over 250 camps had to be quickly located, cared for, and returned home. Many armed Japanese soldiers still wandered around. Curiously, a second surrender ceremony was held a year later on the 22nd of September 1946, probably staged as a gesture of respect to Messervy and as a morale booster for all Malayans. The Malayan Daily News reported the next day, at a surrender ceremony held in front of the Victoria Institution yesterday afternoon, General Itagaki, commander of the Japan's 7th Area Army, embracing Malaya, Java, Sumatra, Nicobar, and the Andaman Islands, and parts of Borneo and Siam, and the Japanese Army Korea, handed a sword to Lieutenant General Sir Frank Messervy, General Officer, Commanding-in-Chief, Malaya Command. By 1946, Victoria was back in action as the premier school in Malaya.
I'm also going to talk about the Japanese occupation, but not by trying to outdo the obviously dramatic and no doubt historic events that VI was background to, but rather by illustrating that St. John's altogether different experience of the occupation can be just as significant and perhaps even more meaningful in the heritage of this country and this city. When the Japanese invaded in 1941, the majority of the Lassallean brothers were foreigners. Many were European, but none of them even contemplating about leaving the colony. Some of them paid dearly for this. But it was also one of the reasons why LaSalle Brothers schools experienced such a boost in the post-war years. The uncertain days before the arrival of the Japanese were, of course, tense for the brothers at St. John's, but they occupied themselves with useful tasks like being co-opted to destroy all the alcohol in KL. Wouldn't want to get all the Japanese drunk, would you? They were also fortunate in having with them a fluent Japanese speaker, Brother Daniel, who happened to be able to smooth over the initial problems of the Japanese once they arrived and help the school reopen very soon afterwards with the brothers still in charge. The school was known as Bukit Nandas Gakko. Gakko is school. And they ran Japanese classes. Now, early in 1942, an American brother, 3 English brothers, Canadian, Brother Lawrence Spitzing, that name is familiar to most Johanians. Brother Lawrence arrived in Kuala Lumpur just the year before, in 1941, a young man. And this is his account of what it was like in KL in those days. Kuala Lumpur was much, much less developed, but it was a beautiful city, very cool at night compared to Singapore. especially Bukit Nanas. But the threat of war was always there. Almost every day there were fleets of British bombers and fighter planes flying over Kuala Lumpur. So we were always conscious of the possibility of war. As it grew nearer, we organized what was called air raid wardens. Men who were not in the armed services were called to be air raid wardens to patrol the streets in case secret agents might have landed by parachute. All the young brothers at St. John's were air raid wardens. The Japanese started the school as soon as they could after the British surrender, calling it Bukit Nanas Garden, like I said before. Also during that time, what happened was the school became home to crowds and crowds of refugees or dislocated. In fact, 400 members of different families, each classroom was turned into a home for families. And so you see, in one sense, St. John's had a almost continuous history as a school, as an establishment of education, but also it was a sanctuary for people running away from the horrors of war.
If this were a debate to reward noble deeds, then I'm sure St. John's may win. But we're looking at the value of preserving a building and its grounds. And that has to be Victoria Institution. Any old building can be used to house refugees or to teach at, but only a truly iconic, imposing building would be selected to be the administrative center for the occupying Japanese and to be army headquarters for the ultimately victorious British, and most importantly, to be the venue for the surrender not once, but twice of one nation to another. That is the building that must be preserved.
On 4th August 1975, 5 men walk into a lift at the AIA building in downtown Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Moments later, gunshots are fired.
They were very sharpshooters. They just shot. They went in through the eye, came out of the back and hit the wall.
By afternoon, the gunmen round up 53 hostages, a daring act that lasts 5 days and makes headlines around the world.
If they don't get what they want, they will shoot one by one.
From day one, the negotiators face numerous problems. And in the quest to rescue hostages, the operation goes halfway around the world.
We must try and save as many as possible.
On the 4th of August 1975, I was in Standard 6, and St. John's was right next door to the AIA. And we were witnesses to this awful event. And in fact, this is one of the Japanese Red Army was one of the most feared left-wing terrorist groups in the world. And they were carried on with their terrorist activities until their leader was arrested, I think, and tried in 2001. What happened that day was the 5 members of the Japanese Red Army stormed the American consulate office in the AIA building and seized the American consul, Robert C. Stebbin, the Swedish Chancellor Fair, Frederick Bergenstrahl, and 51 other people. Apart from the guard that had his eye shot out, there was also 2 policemen that were also shot, and one of the hostages was slightly injured by a gun, a bullet grazed past his arm. They shot their way into the 9th floor of the building, wounding these people, and after taking the 9th floor, the gunmen threw out of the window typewritten sheets making a number of demands, including the release of 7 Red Army prisoners held in Japan. The Malaysian government will do its best to meet the demands and come to compromise, said Communications Minister Tan Sri B. Manakabaskam, who was appointed government negotiator. He was soon after replaced by Tan Sri Ghazali Shafi, who, as the foreign minister, did an amazing job by persuading the Japanese to release the prisoners. 5, 2 others decided they didn't want to leave prison. and a range of light from Japan. No one was killed during this event.
Thank you, Zahim.
I think my learned opponent is a little confused. He's meant to be talking about sensational events that happened at St. John's, not at the AIA building. Now let me tell you a sensational and truly Victorian incident. This is Ethel Proudlock, probably Ethel Proudlock, pictured here with her husband William at the Batu Caves. On the evening of 13th April 1911, Ethel checked to see that her young daughter was asleep, and she then fetched a blotter and an inkstand and sat to work on her letter writing. She and her husband, William Proudlock, had moved into the headmaster's bungalow in January with three sides of the Klang River around it. It stood on the grounds of the Victoria Institution, Kuala Lumpur's premier school. Proudlock was acting headmaster of VI, while B.E. Shaw, remember him, was on home leave. According to Mrs. Proudlock, she was halfway through her second letter when a rickshaw pulled up unexpectedly, bearing William Crozier Stewart. Proudlock was away having dinner with another teacher in Brickfields, so Mrs. Proudlock and Stewart made small talk. She was handing him a book when he tried to kiss her. She pushed him away, claiming, "What's you doing? I'm mad." Stewart answered by grabbing her wrist. When Stewart tried to raise her dress, she seized his hand and wrenched it away. Afraid that she might fall, she reached behind to steady herself. That is when her hand came into contact with a revolver belonging to her husband lying on the table. That clip was from the opening of the 1940 Hollywood movie, The Letter, which was nominated for 7 Oscars, including Best Actress for Betty Davis here. The film was based on Somerset Maugham's novel and play of the same name, which in turn was inspired by the murder in this, the Victoria Institution headmaster's bungalow. The story would feature in books and even inspire an opera by the Santa Fe Opera in New Mexico. Now, this is Proudlock with the VI Football 11 in 1910. It was his wife who killed the other man. The court would find that Stewart was in fact Ethel's lover, and he was murdered after she discovered he was living with a Chinese woman in Salak South. She was held at Kudu jail and sentenced to death by hanging. Petitions to the Sultan resulted in Ethel getting a full pardon. She sailed off to England with her daughter. Her husband, Proudlock, ended up a schoolmaster at St. George's, just south of Buenos Aires, and he died there in 1958. And it was found that he was corresponding with a woman who claimed to be his niece, but was in fact his daughter. So, honored citizens of Kuala Lumpur, this event is truly sensational with a capital X. Capital X, maybe X-rated too.
Thank you, Chacko. Very interesting. Okay, now Johanian, you have 30 seconds to rebut. Your time starts now.
All right, very quickly. This is more of a challenge, rather, to some of the Johanians rather than a rebuttal to VI. The VI's webpage is extraordinary. It is like an archive in itself, and unfortunately, to find information about anything about St. John's is extremely difficult. And I put it to us, we have to do something about this, and we have to think. I mean, I found out subsequently that today, in fact, that in June 29, in 1927, Brothers Cosgrave of St. John was charged with murder of a coolie.
Your time is up.
So we do have sensational events.
Name as many royal alumni from your school, VI, As many as you can in 10 seconds. Go.
Sultan Hassan Al-Bolkiah of Borneo, Sultan Musa Giyatuddin of Selangor, Prince Jelfri Bolkiah, Prince Safri Bolkiah, and Prince Muhammad Bolkiah.
No help at all? No? Is that okay? Is that all? Is that all from the That was under 10 seconds. So that was 5 names.
I need some help here.
Johanian, you have 10 seconds. Go.
Sultan Sharifuddin Shah, Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Nasrin Shah, Sultan of Perak. 2. Anyone else?
Okay. Time's up. So that was 5 against 3.
Special thanks to the Brunei royal family.
Name as many politician alumni from your school as you can in 10 seconds and go.
Datuk Sri Najib Razak, the Prime Minister. Anyone else? Datuk Aziz Zabidi.
Okay, 3 names. That was 3 names. And Victoria, your turn. Name as many politician alumni from your school as you can in 10 seconds. Go.
Rafida Aziz, Chong Hon Yen, Eng Yen Yen, Shafi Abdal, Nazri Aziz, Harun Idris, Zul Hassan Rafiq, Rajanuchi.
That was 8 names.
Rajaratnam.
8 names in 10 seconds versus 3 names in under 10 seconds. So VI wins this round. Name as many personalities working in the arts, entertainment and sports industry who are alumni from your school. You have 10 seconds. Go.
Mokhtar Dahari, the Siddiq brothers, Misrun, Jalani, Razif, Rahman, Rashid, Rami Mohammed Tahar, Dr. Slim, Fugok Yong, Ismail Minister, Christian J.
Okay, you have 12 names. 12 names. Johanian.
12 names.
Okay. Arts, entertainment, and sports industry. You have this. 10 seconds. Go.
Hafiz Shauki, Hans Isaac, Freddy Fernandez, Hamid Iskandar, Reza Zainal Abidin.
Okay. Time's up. You gave me 6 names, so that was half of what VI
Do that. No, because the CD is one surname.
Last category for this round, first among equals, okay? Each warrior in turn will name an alumnus who has achieved a first in a particular field or an activity, and you both have 1 minute, starting from now.
Who goes?
Johanian goes first.
M. Mohanadas, the first Malaysian on Mount Everest.
Tun Ismail Muhammad Ali, first governor of Bank Negara.
Tan Sri Mahadevan, first psychiatrist to the government of Malaysia.
Mani Jagadisan, first Malaysian to be voted fastest man in Asia.
First, Dato' Yu Win Hock, first Malaysian to qualify for the Olympics.
Ng Yang Yen, first Malaysian Chinese woman on the cabinet.
Tan Sri Zeti Aziz, the first woman governor of the Bank Negara.
Rafida Aziz, first woman minister of international trade.
Any others?
Ananda Krishnan launched the first satellite for Malaysia.
Anyone would like to help? You have 4 seconds. 3.
Francis Yeo, first Malaysian to be voted Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young.
Well done.
I'm sorry, boy.
My name is Andrew Abhishek. I'm from the Victoria Institution. I went there from 1977 to 1983, a full 7 years. So true Victorian, and now currently the chairman of the Board of Governors and on the VIOA Foundation.
Okay, so you have 90 seconds to present your case. Are you ready? Okay, time starts now.
The Victoria Institution, I've heard from these 2 gentlemen here, and both have good stories. Zahim's a lot funnier, I have to say that. But Chacko presented facts, figures which talk about VI. I'm very proud to be from the Victoria Institution because we are a school which is built on the backbone of Malaysia. As you can see, all the notable founders of the Victoria Institution were there. They're the founding members of Kuala Lumpur, which is what the Badan Warisan is all about. So we are here also to promote and start what Kuala Lumpur is all about. Besides that, besides the beautiful school, we have 26 acres right in the heart. We also have been the center of so many different firsts. As Chacko said, we even have the first swimming pool, the first scout movement. Our band has won world championships. Our players from the badminton team, the only person to have won the Thomas Cup, you know, the last Thomas Cup. And one of the players who got here was my own classmate. All these notable firsts, Mokta Dahar, you have seen the Ola Bola, have come from the Victoria Institution. So while we celebrate St. John's over there in Bukit Nanas, we'd like to think of the VI as one of the greatest, if not the greatest schools in Malaysia, having promoted culture, sports, business, and heritage to Malaysia. Thank you very much.
My name is Nisha. I'm the Vice President for the St. John's Alumni. I'm also the Board Governance for St. John's. Now, whatever that's been said about Victoria, we can equal them, if not better. That's for sure. We will not compete with Victoria in terms of who's first, but rather what we want to say, those who get to be in Victoria are selected from Form 1, whereas for St. John's, we accept everybody from Standard 1. Guys from the poor family, guys from KTMBs, you know, from royals to business, politicians, everybody goes to St. John's. Whatever has been said about national unity, we can equal if not better, that's for sure. But if there's one thing that St. John's must be preserved today and forever, is because we are at the verge of a push for development, especially for our land. It's already true enough that the primary school is going to make way, if not for a stop order for a future development. Without that, we will lose half of our heritage. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is more than enough for me to tell you that we should preserve St. John's better, because the school carries a lot of heritage. We have royals, again you have royals. We have politicians, you have politicians. We have the Prime Minister. Okay, for good or bad. For good or bad. Okay, for good or bad. Okay, kings, sultans, you know, sportsmen, the late Mike Shepperson is the first hockey captain for Malaysia, passed away quite recently. And all these people are equal Malaysians for development.
Alright, thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for showing your support for your alma maters. I'm very moved that so many from St. John's did turn up. I guess we're fortunate, now I'm finding out we're not so fortunate. St. John's, they've been listed as National Heritage by the Minister of Culture and Tourism, but so hopefully they are safe from destruction. But it's not, I don't think it's also enough just to simply declare a building a national heritage building, because it also needs incentives and support to be given to the owners and the people who look after these buildings to maintain them and rehabilitate them so that as many people can enjoy them as possible, not just the students.
Well, yes, I agree, Zahim. We both visited our alma maters when we were preparing for this battle, and we were both really saddened to see that these schools are not well maintained. St. John's has trees growing out of the roof. We heard there are leaks in the ceiling, there's termites. VI's wonderful, beautiful, regal school hall, the parquet is coming out. There are like bathroom tile type things put in the front, leading up to the stage. Paint is peeling in both the schools. And this is just basic maintenance, not maintaining a historic, iconic building, just basic maintenance. Surely our students have a right to a decent, well-maintained environment to go to school in. What more, these buildings that have been listed as national heritage, should they not be preserved properly?
So we're the lucky ones. There are others that have not been so lucky, and we some of the schools here that have gone, BBGS, St. Mary's, Liming will be going soon, the building will be going, the school is moving. Of course, there was the feeder school of VI, Pasar Road School, which also went.
Now, there are schools that are under threat today that have not gone but might well go. We've just heard about St. John's Primary School, but Batu Road School, where I did my Standard 6, a feeder school for VI, Maxwell Road School, and Methodist Boys School are all under threat. And this is just in KL. I was shocked to hear that St. Michael's in Ipoh, a magnificent building, is also under threat. I mean, that's icon of Ipoh.
Well, thank you very much for being here today, and please spread the word if you're interested in things heritage. You can apply to join Badan Warisan Malaysia.
Right, and actually, thank you, Japing, for pointing out Think City. This wouldn't have happened without the wonderful support of Think City, and it's an initiative that they've done with Badan Warisan Malaysia and the Malaysian branch of the Royal Asiatic Society. This battle, this heritage battle, it's part of the School Kuala Lumpur.
This School City.
The School City project. And so let's give all these organizations a big hand. It's recess time. See you in the canteen outside. Thank you.
It's a very useful event, I feel, in the sense that it highlights what historical features and historical events, historical happenings between both schools. Both schools are equally rich in tradition. Of course, VI has a 10-year head start, but end of the day, it's very interesting to see how the history is diverse between the two and how we do share some common ground, especially in the early foundations of KL. Definitely these kind of sessions should be held more, and I think more public participation is necessary so that people understand what is the value of heritage.
I think it was a very well organized event, and it brought a little bit more knowledge of both the schools, especially since we have such a great rivalry. It also brought a little bit more recognition to what Kuala Lumpur is doing and the Badan Warisan itself for the preservation of old buildings such as this. I think we really ought to make a commitment to preserve buildings, historic buildings such as this, and I'm very glad that it's such a great turnout, very glad that VI won, and also to say that as chairman of the Board of Governors of the Victoria Institution, we are here to take what the Badan Warisan is and take it to the next level by getting all our school, the teachers and the students involved in the preservation of the Victoria Institution.